Hello, and welcome to Off the Shelf Reviews.
I wish I was a little bit taller. I wish I was a baller. I wish I had a girl who looked good, I would call her. I wish I had a rabbit in a hat with a bat and a 6'4" Impala.
And I'm Gary. And today we're going to review...
Yes! Yes, it's been ages! Yes, and I did it in one take as well. Completely threw him off. Yeah, baby, that's been a while throwing you off.
Yeah, it has a few years now.
I gotta fucking do that shit all again now.
No, you're fine. Because today, we're going to review and discuss Trancers 3, which came out in 1992, written and directed by Courtney Joyner. Iain, why don't you give us the synopsis?
Well, the story still follows our hero, Jack Death, who's living in LA with Lena, or going through a bit of a divorce with Lena. He's transported to the future to find out from his ex-wife, Alice, that the Trancer program has started again and has to be sent back to the year 2005 to confront a crazy general and his army of Trancers.
Come to Daddy.
So it's kind of a bit of a shame that the creator of this series of films, Charles Band, who's now the head of like Full Moon Entertainment, had to step away from writing or directing this film. Just because he's now responsible for an entire production company, overseeing lots of projects, couldn't actually come back and work on this one. And so this goes to first-time director Courtney Joyner, who I know the name from like some of the Puppet Master films. I think he was the writer for some of those, and I saw that he was also the writer for Trancers 6. But I didn't really know much about this director. All I can say is that after watching this film, he needs to work on his pacing just a little bit. Just a little bit. But again, I was just super stoked just to see that, Tim Thomerson is back playing Jack Death again. I mean, we know, that there is a Trancers 4 and there is a Trancers 5, but none of the cast are back for 6. Like we've seen it in the comments looking at the previous Trancer films, and this guy's fairly new to us. And when he appeared for us, like in Cherry 2000, but it seems like this guy has got a huge cult following. Right up there with Bruce Campbell, and Jeffrey Combs. It's just like, well, we need to find out more about this guy.
Well, I mean, I think we're finding out just enough from watching his movies. There's a reason why people are cult heroes, because they only play one kind of character. And like you said, he's up there for me now with Bruce Campbell, with the fact that, it's all right, we're not talking Brad Pitt acting here, we're not talking Leonardo DiCaprio Oscar winning masterpieces, but we are talking about a story about time traveling zombies. So what are you really expecting? I kind of enjoyed this one a little bit more than I enjoyed the second one. But then again, I suppose with this one, I had so much fun picking at some of the faults. That's where I had fun with the movie. Because I when you sit down to do these reviews, you want to obviously talk about the scenes, you want to talk about the acting, the special effects. And so you really, really pay attention. And the film starts with the narration of Jack Death talking about, he's living in LA, he's in the past. After the last movie, we knew that he'd stayed in 1992 with Lena, with Helen Hunt, and had sent Alice to the future, and that was it. That was where they were going to be. But he starts talking about, in the narration, about how he's a bit burned out, he's a bit bummed out, because he wants to hunt Trancers. He's a fucking Trancer hunter from the future. And here he is with the shittiest detective agency advert ever.
I love the fact that you can see the call cards coming up on screen as he's having trouble reading them.
That's it. I saw that guy. I love that. I saw the boom mic as well, and I'm like, I'm not sure if that's a mistake.
It's a deliberate one, yeah. This time.
That's right, folks. It's time to take advantage of our holiday rates at Jack Death's Detective Agency. If you need to check up on your spouse, do it now. Because I won't take a fee unless I catch him in the act.
But it reminds me of like RoboCop. I don't know the way it's filmed, the actor that they got in there, the way it's set up. But you've got this thug who's trying to rob this convenience store, and then one of the Power Ranger villain rejects steps out from this TARDIS.
Yeah, the combination of a TARDIS, phone booth, time travel machine. Like, okay, now this movie is establishing that to send people through time now, they need this machine.
Yes.
You know, in the last one, we needed that chamber to be able to... But
that only worked one way, sending them back to the future. They couldn't send them back physically.
Because of the subconscious, because of the subconscious.
Well, we know the second film blurred all the lines as to what was technically feasible at which timeline.
Yeah. And we get this thing step out, and like I found out later on that his name was Shark.
Yeah.
But it's not really hard to not realise why he's called Shark. He's got a fin on his head and sharp teeth. That's about it. It's like a...
I didn't actually realise he was a robot. Really? He's a robot. Well, I mean, the film eventually lets you know.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have guessed it straight away. Like, that's a robot shark.
Yeah, that's it. I thought he was an enemy. You know, because he was like, I'm here to find Jack Death. Where is he? And he even speaks like Mandarin or Cantonese to the shopkeeper.
Yeah.
The shopkeeper answers back and he's like, okay. And Jack and Lena are going through a bit of a divorce, which is kind of a bit weird because they've only been married for a year. But
I kind of saw this coming though. Helen Hunt has now reached the big time of TV, Mad About You and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And so they actually didn't even write her into the original script. They were like, oh, Helen Hunt's like, she's not coming back to work for us anymore.
No.
And so she wasn't even in the script. And then somebody called her, or she found out that one was being made, and she inquired. And she was like, oh, no, please, I want to come back. I would love to come back and work on the next Trancers movie. And
finish my character.
No, but then they were also like, well, what's your availability? And she's like, I can give you 20 minutes. I don't know. So she literally gets one scene and then she's off back doing what she's in. But, you know, she said that, you know, the crew of Trancers were like friends and family.
Yeah.
They were there before she hit the big time.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a favor in a way.
It's what I kind of like.
I also predicted, like, if they were going to do a third movie with these two characters, I was like, as a writer, where are you going to take it? Well, Jack Death... He was great as a bachelor, as a single person.
True.
Then he could sleep with any girl. You know, he could go on all these adventures. You know, nothing to tie him down. But it just hurts just that this film takes that darker approach right off the get-go. Yeah. And it's just like, well, this isn't as fun as the previous films.
There was a bit in the story later on that I kind of wish they'd gone with, but I won't spoil it just yet because, like I said, Lena and Jack are going through a bit of a divorce. Jack is working as this detective, you know, chasing down husbands and boyfriends who are cheating on their partners. And, you know, he's talking to Lena on the phone and he's just like, look, I'm trying to get this money so that you can pay your lawyer so that he can divorce us. I don't want this, but, you know, that's the way it is. And as he gets ready to do this job, because he even sets up a date with Lena. He says, look, we're going to meet up after this job and we're going to have dinner and we're going to talk about this and talk it all through. And she's really happy about it. But then Shark turns up and just knocks him out, knocks Jack out.
Throws him in the time machine.
Carries him to the time machine and takes him to the future.
And I was like, okay, so he's now been abducted by the henchman.
Yeah.
You know, he's now going to be taken to the new Grand Overseer, the new villain of the movie.
That's what I
All
thought.
these soldiers are doing this weird salute.
Yeah, but it was so Terminator Rebel based.
Yeah, well, I mean, we go to the future and it's like, well, okay, so how is this dystopian future going to look? And it's a bloody underpass, you know. And it's like, oh, we can't do the. The destroyed future.
That's it. Like, so I'm looking around. I'm like, so this is the future. Is it atomic war? Is it devastation? And Jack walks through this base, all these wounded soldiers, you know, and he comes across the engineer from the second movie. And I didn't realize she was in the first one as well.
Yeah.
You know, Engineer Range, I think it is, and Alice Stillwell. And they both say to Jack, like, look, the council is dead. McNulty is dead, which I was quite sad about.
Yeah, it's just like, come on. He was one of my favourite characters.
Man, if they're going to pay for Helen Hunt, they cannot afford Art LaFleur, you know. And I'm sure Art LaFleur ain't going to do it for free.
Yeah.
but they're like, yeah, you know, there's a Trancers. All the Trancers are back, Jack. And I'm like, how we killed Whistler. And I understand he had a brother who travelled back in time, but, you know, we get explained that something happened in the past and has made the Trancers. And then a bunch of the Trancers attack. And I was saying this to Gary before we turned the camera on. You know, Jack tells us at the beginning that he's from the year 2360, which I'm sure is a continuity error from the other movies. But in the year 2360, are you telling me A, you've got no laser guns and you still fire bullets that you have to make by hand? And B, your Trancers that are very fucking, you know, bullets are fatal for them? You're not going to put body armor on them when they attack a armed base?
Got one word for you. Budget.
Jack, we need you down the line. Go! Follow me.
These fucking Trancer guys come running in with machine guns and Jack's like, bang, 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 bang. I'm like, they're fucking shooting ducks in a barrel. And he, you know, Alice says to him, look, you've got to travel back to the past. You've got to find this person who's in charge of the Trance army and you've got to stop them to save the future.
I thought he was a pretty good actor as well. I recognise him from the Monster Squad.
Yeah, the guy who played Harris.
Yes.
Yes.
And he, you know, I liked his speech where he was, you know, he's got this haunted look in his eye where he's like, 10-year-old children, I had to send them to war. You don't know what it was like, Jack. The streets were flowing with blood 10 inches thick.
I shouldn't laugh, obviously, through this dark speech. He's talking about children going to war. But, like I said, I analyse films when I'm reviewing them, and watching the actor playing Harris walk with Jack, talking, and all I can see is the back of his fucking head.
Riveting.
I'm like, turn at least once. I can see Tim Thomerson. I've seen Tim Thomerson for 3 movies. Who the fuck is this dude making all these important speech?
You're in command. Let's just say I'm the final word, since McNulty bought it. When? In the first firefight. He was leading an offensive into old L.A.
You do also find his other ex-wife, who he sent forward in the previous movie.
Yeah.
She's now, you know, take no nonsense, badass commando type.
Yeah.
And she's blasting Trancers, and she's got to get Jack Death back into the time machine to go back and figure out why all these Trancers have turned up when they have.
Why would you use the sound effect of a suppressor on a gun that doesn't have a suppressor?
A budget. Or does it make the gun sound futuristic?
I don't know. She gets him into the booth and she says, yep, save the future. And he takes one last look at her and shoots back. And we then cut to the Crazy Horse, which is a strip club. And we see a guy called Stevens. And it took a while for me to get these guys' names because, you know, they don't tell each other their names. You got 2 guys, Matt and Doug, who are brothers. I think it was Doug, who is the lieutenant. You've got RJ, played by Melanie Smith, who is kind of like one of the newer recruits. And then you've got, I think it's Private Sharp, the kind of lesbian female soldier who's kind of interested in Melanie Smith's character. And you've got this guy, Stevens, who is a fucking testosterone, powered up, you know, and the lieutenant is constantly telling them, you need to calm down, you need to rein it in, you need to, you know, bring it back. I can! I'm so pumped up! And these hillbilly, shit kicker, cowboy hat wearing people come walking into the bar, and Stevens is just like, I'm gonna go fight. I'm like, alright, calm down, guys. I don't know if you're the bad guys or the good guys at the moment.
He makes some barnyard animal intercourse references and riles them up and
mutates into a Trancer at the same time.
He trances out and there's a so-so bar fight.
Sorry, Lieutenant. I'm on level 10 high. This isn't the pit. It is tonight.
I didn't understand why, like, you've just spent all this time telling Stevens to calm down, and then you just let him go off and fight these people, and he kills them. Like, he impales this one guy in a pool cue and lobs him across the room.
That was great.
All right, but then Agent Jason, like, the CIA suit-wearing motherfucker, turns up with some armed soldiers, and they blast the fuck out of him.
Yeah, I guess he's a failed trancer because he couldn't rein it in. He couldn't control his trancing.
Right. Because Doug and Private Sharp go up to the elevator, which is just on the second floor of the Crazy Horse, and they go down into the secret military base, which is underneath the strip club.
Of course.
And I love the fact that they have to put the sign elevator above the elevator just in case anybody gets lost in this military base.
I'd find that very helpful, actually.
What the fuck is who's running this place?
Well, it seems like this place consists of like one main room. You know, you've got the head of operations up there. You got this big training area in the middle where everyone's lifting weights or, I don't know, just doing something in the background.
The pit.
You got a couple of scientist-looking dudes with a computer terminal behind. You've got the armory, which is just a wall of guns. I'm like, you know, like if the camera panned around, it'd probably be the bed bunks right there as well.
I like it when Agent Jason's walking past with Matt, and he goes, "Hey, you see the wall of guns over there?" I heard that in the script. I'm like, why? Why can I hear that? Why am I hearing that? It's a wall of guns. But we get introduced to possibly the best thing about this movie, next to maybe Tim Thomerson, is Andrew Robinson.
Hell yeah. This guy is awesome.
Playing Colonel Daddy Mother?
What?
Yeah.
Say again?
Colonel Daddy Mother.
You don't like it when some of my soldiers refer to me as Daddy Mother, do you?
I just find it disrespectful, sir.
Because...
One more time, Ian.
Colonel Daddy Mother. His last name is Mother, and his nickname is Daddy, and so they call him Daddy Mother. Because in his own words, when he was out in the field with his soldiers, he was mother and father to everybody.
It's a combat name. I was mother and father to those boys in the field. Oh, but you've never been there, have you? No, never tasted blood.
And I burst into fucking laughter when I found out his name was Daddy Mother. I couldn't take this movie any seriously. Like, I had trouble taking the second one, like, at a parody level because it was trying to be too serious.
Well, I mean, this is how Andrew Robinson's really delivering this character as well.
He's amazing.
It's a one-dimensional character, you know? It's egotistical, maniacal, megalomaniac.
It's fucking...
But exactly, he knew exactly what it was, you know? And, you know, he managed to add his own, you know, ticks and things to make this character very much Andrew Robinson's. And there's even a moment in the film, which, of course, if you're a Clive Barker fan, if you're a fan of Hellraiser, when Andrew Robinson says, "Come to Daddy," you're just like, yeah, okay, you win.
Like, he tells, like, Matt, the lieutenant, like, you know, take your brother off, go on, you know, get him sorted, you know, sort out the body of Stevens as well. He was a failure. I'm going to take Private Sharp off and get her oral impressions of the bar fight. And you're like...
That seemed awfully suggestive.
Yeah. Like, I mean, this is Andrew Robinson. This motherfucker will probably shag a lot. And then, you know, we get the sequence where he's in bed with this female actress.
It's the most bizarre sex scene ever. It's a trancer sex scene, which just means they're trancing really hard to not... It's like tantric trancing.
Yeah, she's trying to control it because, like, when they turn into trancers, they get super strength, but they become undead, brainless zombies controlled by one man's voice, I suppose. That's what we got in the first one. He was hypnotizing people. In the second one, the pills that he was feeding them made them suggestive to just do whatever he said. In this one, it's the same thing, but he's trying to keep them in their human form so that they can train and become the most deadliest soldiers ever. But I got really annoyed because we realised during the bar fight, Melanie Smith's character, like, fucks off.
Well, she sees this. She's like, actually, I don't want any part of this.
Yeah, she's had a couple of the injections already and goes, well, no, I don't want that. But she's walking past that box full of the newspapers, and you realise that Helen Hunt's character is now a reporter, and she's reporting on the soldiers that are being turned into Trancers because supposedly Melanie Smith's character leaks her the information. And I'm like, at what point does this happen? Because she either realizes that she can go to Helen Hunt with the newspaper and then goes off and does it, but we never find that out, or she's already done it. Because
there were others leaking information.
Exactly, because the agent even says to Colonel Mother during the fight sequence, between the Trancer training fight sequence, like, look, here, I found the reporter. I know her family. We gotta cut this leak. And Jack brings himself finally to this point as well. He turns up in his booth. It's been like 13 years since that night that he'd left Lena at the restaurant, and so his life's completely gone down the toilet. His business is out. Like, he can't even get into his office.
He's lost his car. That beautiful car.
Yep, that beautiful. Well, I mean, it's not lost. It's in storage at the moment.
That was just my thinking at first. I was like, the car!
The car, yeah. And he does even go and meet up with Lena because he realizes she's a reporter. He sees the newspaper clipping.
Yeah.
And he goes to see her. Now, this was the point I thought they might have gone with, because when the little girl answered the door, I was like, oh shit, Jack Def had is a father.
Yeah, yeah.
And I thought that should have been a bit of a better storyline. Maybe, all right, okay, yeah, you only had Helen Hunt for 20 minutes. So maybe kill her off at the beginning. And then
we know he's got to have an ancestor somehow that gets up the line, so...
Yeah, but then, we find out that she remarried, and this girl is...
Their child.
They don't actually say it's Jack's child, but you get the little hint that she's playing with Hap because she loves baseball,
right?
And she's got tickets for it. And Jack and Helen Hunt, they have this little conversation. It's not much really. He basically tries to apologize, and she's like, "It's over anyway." And then she says, "Hey, look. Here's that soldier you've been looking for."
Fetch. Fetch. Close the door behind him.
One of the best things I thought about this movie, I think Gary will agree as well, is that if you are a Star Trek Deep Space Nine fan, Melanie Smith, she played Gold Ducat's daughter in the series, and that character is one of the characters that Garrick, played by Andrew Robinson in that series, would later fall in love with. And I'd never seen this movie in 1993, but I've just done a massive binge of Deep Space Nine. And
which is 5 years after this film.
Yeah. Exactly. So seeing these two actors, like knowing how these actors will go on, you really get that lovely feeling that, when you work on a set and you work together, and then you meet up again in the future, you just have that closeness. You remember that time we were in Trancers 3? But Jack takes RJ to the beach to talk, and I was really confused because there's a big sign talking about radiation in the ocean.
Oh, of course, it's the future, so...
2005.
Well, yeah, it makes sense, yeah.
We still don't have those signs. I'm pretty sure there's still radiation in the ocean. But yeah, they are talking about, the trancing, and Melanie explains to Jack, look, they've got these injections, they're controlled by this Colonel Mother, and I can take you there and we can try to stop them. And then this police officer turns up, and the police officer starts questioning them, what they're doing, like this is private land. And Melanie Smith's character just shoots the cop in the face. And Jack's like, what are you doing? And she's like, look, she's got, nail polish on her fingers. That's not a standard issue. She's one of, the agent's hidden agents. She's following us. They're on to us. And he's like, okay, right. Okay, I think he tries to take her to the teleportation booth. Because, he goes to the area where he'd left the time travel booth.
Yes, yeah.
And when he gets there, he's immediately captured by everybody.
Yeah, everyone gets captured and taken to the underground scientific military base.
How did they know to go there?
Well,
budget.
Budget. and so the crux of Colonel Father Mother is his plan is to secure more funding,
Yes.
so that he can build this Trancer army, which he's never really expressly said what for. Obviously, we know in the future it's, to unleash all the Trancers all at once to overthrow everything.
Well, he says to the senator, when he gets the senator in, like, the senator is like, why are we doing this? People don't want war. We're trying to actually cut back on our army bases all around the world. And Colonel Mother says, I'm not talking about the rest of the world. I'm talking about this country. I'm talking about we need to deal with the people. We need to reclaim back our neighborhoods. We need to reclaim back our streets. We need to reclaim back this. And I'm like, yeah, that's the standard speech from a megalomaniac fucking crazy scientist who's made some kind of zombie fucking juice to just take over the world.
But he's got to prove his worth and his value to this bureaucrat.
Yes.
And so he has to put on a show.
Yeah.
Just to go, look what my soldiers are capable of. And so he has two of his best ones fight it out.
Well, I mean, we'd already seen that fight between the lieutenant and Sharp.
Yeah.
And the lieutenant had been beating the crap out of Sharp. And so he didn't want to damage him. So he tranquilized both of them.
Right.
And sent them back to get more injections. This fight is a fight between the two brothers who haven't really been really well established as brother characters. And so when Doug rips out Matt's throat and holds it out, you're like,
oh,
I don't care.
Doug, I give up.
But Jack's being captured as well, and as he's being interrogated, they give him the injection. And it's this whole thing now of trying to fight the trancing, RJ, Melanie Smith's character, has been captured as well, and she's like, I need to help Jack. And so she releases him. I don't understand why you would store 3 handguns in a plastic box.
right where you're going to keep your hostages or your prisoners or your science subjects. But like, whatever.
Does the box keep them dust free, or is it like I don't know. But she basically hands Jack a gun.
And there's a bit of a shootout as they make their way through the corridor. But it turns out that RJ's incapable of shooting these soldiers for some reason.
Yes.
Because we see the signs of her trancing under her eyes.
Yes.
She's losing control of her body. And just when Jack is about to be overrun by more Trancers, she snaps out of it and manages to kill them.
Yep.
But then she falls into Jack's arms. She's like, I'm a Trancer. You're going to have to kill me.
You have to kill me.
With very little hesitation, he just shoots her dead.
Blam. And she hits the floor. Now Jack has to take on the rest of the army base pretty much on his own, but luckily Shark turns up.
Yay.
Like, I assume the teleportation device, time traveling device, was sent back to the future so that they could put because they'd already established that they couldn't send Shark back with Jack because he only had a certain power source and no more refuel. So once
I thought it was because they needed him as the last stand.
Exactly that as well. And then all of a sudden he turns up. I'm like, well, that was fucking pointless. You made that whole speech about not needing him, and now you're just sending him back anyway.
So he saves Jack by breaking the neck of this one soldier.
The lieutenant, yeah. The lieutenant's kicking the shit out of Jack.
I was like, oh, okay, so now that the Shark's here, because I heard that they added this sidekick Shark character in because they felt like maybe Tim Thomerson was getting a bit too old. He was a bit too achy.
He was.
So maybe we'll get a sidekick in to do some of the extra work. So I was like, oh, maybe this is what they're talking about. So this is where the sidekick comes in now and takes over. They walk into the next room and the freaking Shark just shuts down. They ran out of batteries. It's just like, oh, so that can't have been the case then.
Like, they kill everybody.
Well, that was the other thing that really annoyed me. It's like, again, going back to this big open room that we've seen many times. One doorway that comes in. The camera is fixed on them coming through the doorway.
Yeah.
And one guy starts shooting at them and Jack's like, oh, there he is, and shoots him dead.
Yeah.
And then I'm like,
there's one up there. Oh.
Yeah, but then the camera pans back more, and there's another guy in there, and the moment the camera gets him in frame, he goes for his gun to shoot Jack. It's too late.
Yeah.
And it does it like 5 different people.
Yeah.
Like, all of them could have shot at Jack death simultaneously, but none of them, like, like activate until the camera pans to them.
I mean,
it's like, this is terrible.
I suppose it's supposed to show how cool Jack is to kill these Trancers, but they are so blatantly placed. And then, yeah, he confronts Colonel Daddy Mother. You know, the senator's already legged it and gone, oh, I'm not getting involved in this. This is all out of my hands. And I'm thinking, oh shit, Andrew Robinson's going to trance the fuck out and we're going to have a bit of a throwdown. But the female trancer, she turns up, rips off her miniskirt, which for a second I thought was another miniskirt.
It was just very tight leggings.
It's just tight leggings. I was like, that makes more sense. She starts beating the shit out of Jack. And Jack grabs this sword off the side that Colonel Mother had been, using earlier on in the movie. And he stabs the girl through the chest. And I'm like, wow, these Trancers are so weak.
Yeah.
So what is the, like...
Super soldiers, millions and billions of dollars.
How did you take over the world if you were so fucking weak? And especially the fact that Jack Death, one fucking guy, can deal with you. Either the Trancers are weak or the human race is weak. Well, somebody's fucking weak. But Jack turns to Colonel Daddy Mother and says like, yep, we're gonna have it out now. But the Colonel kind of suggestively forces Jack to turn the gun
on himself.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh man, that's really weak. Like, I wanted to see Andrew Robinson at least change and then get blasted. But he pulls out a gun, shoots Jack in the arm, which completely throws Jack back into normal mode, and then he blasts Colonel Mother dead.
Yep. Well, Jack.
That's it. And Shark wakes up like, hello. And
I'm here to help you now.
I'm here to help you. And Jack's like, where the hell were you? And he's like, oh, damaged circuitry made my, power source go off. I'm fine now.
I guess we now jump back into this time machine, go back to the future and find out whether anything we did here had any effect.
Wait. Before they get to the time machine, they walk out of the room and they come across a female trancer that they let live.
Yeah.
Like, I understand, like, the general's dead now, so maybe the suggesting thing doesn't work, but leaving one trancer alive might upset the balance of the future.
Well, we saw several of them run away at the second one, so we know there's plenty more of them out there.
Sorry, my bad.
So they end up in the time machine, they go back to the future, and now his ex-wife, and now the scientist Harris, lady who become the military lady Harris, she's now a senator, and also the other dude. Now they're all running the place because obviously the old council's dead. Yeah. This is the new council, and they're like, hey, Jack, you did it. You did great. And we got more work for you, by the way. Yes. And you can't say no to it because it's law. Yeah. You have to do what we say. Oh, you're not going alone. You got a partner. He said, oh, great. My old ex-wife. I get to rekindle that marriage instead. Yeah. Like, oh, no. Your brand new sidekick partner, you're going with Shark.
I'm not entirely sure. I was wikiing this. I don't think he turns up in any of the other movies.
Yeah, well, just like the way Jack ends this movie with, this could be the start of a beautiful... No, thank you, Mr. Shark Man. I mean, I looked up the actor in the Shark suit, and the only other thing that I sort of kind of recognized, he was Leatherface in Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3.
Yeah, that's what I caught my eye as well, and I'm like, all right, so you're one of these big kind of Kane Hodder type characters,
more of a stuntman kind of thing.
Yeah. Like Leatherface Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3 is really good. Shark,
no.
No.
Power Rangers want their suit back. Well, what were your favourite scenes in the film?
Oh man, I'll be honest. My favourite scenes were some of the scenes that I was just like, how the fuck did you let that get past in editing? The sign, like I said, having a sign for the elevator. Like, I paused it. I'm like, you had to write that so that we knew. Like, was that for the people on the set for when they walked and they were heading to the elevator, just in case they walked into the wrong door? They're like, look, we need to tell the actors where they need to go. But because my mind was like, these are training elite Trancer soldiers and they can't remember where an elevator is. That's silly. A lot of the scenes with Andrew Robinson in, like the first one where he said about Private Sharp giving him oral impressions, I was like, oh man, you couldn't get away with the script today. No way. And he, like I said, going through a massive Deep Space Nine binge, you know, Andrew Robinson's just a really good actor. You know, he like we said, Hellraiser, he keeps you enraptured on the screen. And so I know that this film isn't great, but he is like a light in the darkness of just how crazy he is. The whole sex sequence, you know, I wish they just had a bit more of a fight out with Jack.
Yeah.
You know, instead of just being shot, because I think that was a bit pointless. There was one sequence where with Jack being interrogated, and they've got him strapped to this bed, and he's got these kind of silver things going over his arm and his waist, and as the lieutenant is reaching towards him, he accidentally brushes past the silver thing, and you just watch it flop off of Jack's arm as the camera is zooming in, and I'm thinking, I can't believe you let that go. Because, you know, how am I not supposed to notice that now? That's just terrible editing. I was also thrown by the whole suppressor thing, by Alice in the future shooting. Like, I've heard suppressor sounds a lot, you know, a lot of James Bond movies, a lot of Metal Gear Solid, Siphon Filter, so I know kind of what a suppressor sounds like. When your gun doesn't have one? Why? I think that's about it.
Fair enough. Yeah, there's quite a few. I think the first time that the film made me laugh out loud is the bar fight sequence when he picks up the pool cue and stabs him.
Yeah.
And then he might as well just look at the camera and just say, asshole, top pocket. Poof. And you see him fly through the air and land on the pool table. Just like, oh, okay, that was kind of funny.
Yeah.
I loved Andrew Robinson's "come to daddy" moment. Great. Pretty much, I think my favourite scene in the whole film is Andrew Robinson when he's torturing that lackey. Is it Jason, the guy in the suit?
Yes, yeah.
And he's just like, so how many combat scenarios have you been in? How many times have you actually been in a fight?
That's what I'm talking about. There was that whole sequence where the agent is getting his gun ready to
nervously to defend himself.
Yeah, like I didn't know if he was going to turn. Maybe he was a double agent. You know, they didn't really establish his character, but just Colonel Mother's dialogue piece, Andrew Robinson just delivering this. I've been in the shit. I've seen death and destruction, and you're
spilled blood in the same mud.
Exactly. You're nothing. You know, you're like, oh, that's why he goes off to become a really good actor, and you kind of just disappear off of
You wet your pants and run away. But yeah, it was a great like power struggle thing.
Yes.
I mean, the scene ended with neither of them. You know, he didn't get stabbed, he didn't get shot.
Yeah.
But it was just watching Andrew Robinson just have the screen to himself. He was chewing up the scenery, but he was definitely having fun with it. So I was like, that's the sequence that stood out the most.
Do you think they just did that sequence to establish the sword?
Well,
so that it could be used
so
like
it could be used in the final scene. Yeah, absolutely. Well, Ian, do you recommend Trancers 3?
Man, I honestly can't recommend it personally. But I will say that if you've made your way through Trancers 1 and 2, you know, and you're thinking about continuing it, then yes, because the movie still has all of the cheesy, low budget, terrible sci-fi, bad dialogue, corny script, silly action sequences, things that should be outtakes in this movie. And you know what? Weirdly enough, it's like a breath of fresh air sometimes.
Sure, yeah.
You know, I can watch a lot of movies that are just, you know, you could watch every single Quentin Tarantino movie done after another, and probably after a while just get a little bit bored of how good they are. Where then you're like, actually, I want to watch something. I want to watch something, you know, and you're like, do I go all the way deep down into Adam Sandler's fucking diary, or do you come up a few levels and go, hey, Tim Thomerson, show me what you've got?
It's like Saturday morning cartoons for adults. If this one's shit, then at least there'll be a good one on after. You know, ordinarily, I would not recommend Trancers 3.
Really?
But it really started to lose its way, and it is inferior to the original, whilst also looking cheaper than ever. You know, and some character and story choices that might sour the enjoyment somewhat of the previous films. You know, bringing Helen back just to be divorced.
Yeah.
Like, what a waste, you know, and it's a sad conclusion to 2 movies here. But it is within keeping of the tone of this film that it really is much darker, and it doesn't have as many laughs as before, and the jokes mostly fall flat here. You know, the main reason to watch Trancers 3 is Tim Thomerson, who remains a no-nonsense, take-charge noir cop with an attitude and an ability to land his lines with often great comedic timing.
Yes.
Andrew Robinson was also really a breath of air into this film series and was fantastic to watch. He was clearly having fun with the role, and you know, Melanie Smith was also a pretty good replacement for the, you know, the kind of love interest, but nothing too memorable. And less said about robot shark thing, the better. Besides a few pacing issues, the film was mildly entertaining and was over after like 70 minutes. If you enjoyed the previous films, this one is okay too. You know, Trancers 3. 3 times the death. Thanks for watching Off the Shelf Reviews.
You know, Shark, this could be the beginning of a beautiful... Forget it.